Welcome. This is Loren Fogelman with Business Success Solution. I help accounting professionals be able to separate their fees from time because I realize that you work so hard. You make a difference for your clients, probably more than they even realize. And you deserve to be well paid for the difference and the value that you bring to the table for your clients. Because of that, I want to show you how to be able to separate your fees and time in order to have a business that supports your lifestyle instead of one where you have to compromise, sacrifice, and by the end of the day, you are drained. With that being said, I'm going to actually focus not on me, I'm going to focus on Randy Zucker. Randy Zucker is a consultant for high-profile individuals and businesses. She helps them establish their online presence. She's appeared on the Today Show, LA Times, Fox and Friends, WPTV, many other media outlets, because she is an expert in internet startups, online marketing, social networks, and the extreme work-life balance. You probably are familiar with that part. And the other thing, because of COVID-19 and everything changing with reality, she's now thrust into becoming a homeschool mom. And as a result, Randy has recently launched homeschoolroomies.com. Once again, homeschoolroomies, ROOMIES.com. It's a social network specifically for the homeschooling needs. And if you want to connect with Randy, she can be found on Instagram at Randy Zucker, RANDIZUCKER, or you can email her at randyzucker@gmail.com, and she'll share that again at the end of our conversation. But in addition to that, I just want to say, Randy and I have known each other for years. She has created my website, and when anything isn't functioning well and it's above my pay grade, I reach out to Randy. She takes care of it, and it is once again smooth rolling. So she is definitely in behind the scenes for me. She's part of my team, and I appreciate everything that she's done for me, and I've seen the work that she's done for other people. If you are looking for having a professional website, you don't want to be cookie cutter, she is your go-to person. Anyway, Randy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. That was a great introduction. Thank you.
Absolutely. And just to immediately dig in, I want to really talk about why websites are important for accounting professionals, and really what are some of the things, if they're going to be doing it themselves, they need. But let's just go into the very basics. Why do you need to have a website?
That's a great question. So, websites is now the new storefront. And especially now these days, people are not as likely to just get in their car and, come right to your office. They first look at your website to get more information about you. Websites are so important because also, you are one in thousands and thousands of thousands in the pond. So you need to make your website stand out. You need to really make it about your customers, make it about your ideal customers. When I take a look at a website, I might be pulling you up on my cell phone while walking my dog. So, you only have about 30 seconds at most to capture my attention. So you want to make sure you have a great website that speaks to me, but, use the right images, use the right buzzwords, use the right language, the right pain points that me, as your client, is the reason why I'm hiring you.
And Randy, with that being said, a lot of accounting professionals in the beginning, they might be creating their own website. There's so many templates out there. What are some of the essentials that they ought to be having on their website?
Good question. So, I want to just step back for a minute. So before you start building your website, you should research what some of your competitors, some of your impressive competitors are doing out there. Or, if you know of a really large accounting agency, they must be they could have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on their website and on their marketing. So, take down what they have on their website. See, they have a homepage, they have an about page, they have services, write down all those things that you're noticing that they have, because they already had they might have had a whole website team that they paid a lot of money for in doing their website. So, I recommend starting there. Once you research also your ideal clients, and their pain points, that also helps, shape what you might have in your about page, what you might have in your service areas. And then what the main goal is of your website, obviously for them to contact you. So, most fundamentals would be like your homepage, your services, about yourself, but why it's so important, your background and what you do, and a contact form, and a very simple contact form. And that's just, the basics. But, with a website, you can really scale through a website. So, plan B, once you have your website launched, you might then want a membership area where once you have clients, maybe rather than go back and forth with your emails for onboarding processes, say, you have a lot of forms that you need to get from your clients, you can actually really scale your business, save time, and just direct them to your website and have it all like easily uploaded there. They can upload it, they can download it, they can e-sign and all that too. But that might be a phase 2 for some people.
Actually, I think that was an advanced move that you shared, because I know that when I'm looking at websites for my clients and giving them some feedback about some of the things that they can do for functionality, the main thing is see what you can automate to make it easier as opposed to harder. It's a more efficient use of your time. It makes it more effective. Your clients are spending more time on your website now also. But I think that what you shared about the forms is so important. I mean, when Steve and I probably built one of our first websites back in the early 2000s, we did have our intake forms right there on the website because it made it so much easier. And it saved paper. So there were many, many different ways, but especially if you have most of your files online, you have a virtual business as opposed to a paper one, you definitely want to think about having your forms online or having some type of portal, because it just makes it so much more user friendly and it affects that customer experience. Is that what you found also, Randy?
Absolutely. You could use your websites. I always say technology scales businesses. So, you can be able to even then be able to take on more clients if you had it more easily accessible for these customers to just go online, grab what they need. Another thing too, if you want people to book a call with you on your website, you can have that synced to your Google Calendar. And people can then right away book a call with you versus any, eliminate as much back and forth as possible through your website.
That's an important point that you're mentioning right there. I just want to highlight it because every single time you ask a person to take another step in the process, people are going to fall off. And because that, you really want to make it as easy as possible with minimal steps instead of making it complicated, because they'll just even move on to somebody else.
Exactly.
Now, as far as the building of the website or maintaining it, what are some of the technical skills you want to consider when running your website?
Right. I want to, a good thing to add when it comes to website design, I don't know why everyone thinks they can just do it themselves. I could color my own hair. I could buy the box, but I wouldn't do it. I know it'll come out horrible. Like, I hire a hairdresser to do my hair. Like, if I do it myself, I'm going to end up ruining my hair, and then I have to go see a hairdresser anyway. And same thing with an accountant. Some people could try to do their accounting themselves, but they'll end up messing it up. I know math doesn't mean I can do accounting. So even if you think you have a good eye for design, website design is a bit trickier. There are DIY platforms out there like Squarespace or Wix, or like I know GoDaddy offers a website builder, and usually kind of like a cut and drag kind of thing, like drag this image over to here, put these headlines, and it's very limiting. Like it really is just for like a one-page kind of website, like and not very dynamic or engaging. So there's that, and there's also not as many options or enhancements if you go with one of these like DIY platforms. If you go to something more like WordPress, that has, I think last time I looked, like 11,000 plus, it's called themes. And you pay for a theme and you install that theme onto your website. And you can actually sort by accounting themes. You can go onto a different theme store and type in accounting WordPress themes and purchase one of those. They could be like $30. And you know, there's some other steps along the way too. You need to purchase a domain, which is your URL. And you want to purchase your hosting, which is usually through a hosting company. I like SiteGround for those kind of things. But it's pretty simple. It might require trial and error. The worst thing that happens is that, you know, you completely mess up and you have to start over. But with WordPress, developers around the world know WordPress versus these DIY platforms. Not as many people really might be an expert in it, but most developers everywhere know WordPress. It's a widely used platform. So that's usually one I would recommend, even for somebody that doesn't understand website design at all, to go with WordPress.
And basically how, you know, we work together with my website is that I looked around at other people's websites and found what I liked. I am geeky enough where I can do parts of it, but I decided that I didn't want to get it started with building it, because that you went ahead and built the initial pages and really got it up and loaded, and the header, the footer, the basic parts. And then what I was able to do was to get in and take over from there, continuing to add pages or blog posts to my website. But because that I found that I had a better looking website by having you do the initial setup for me, and then being able to just go in, and now it has its branding and I can just continue with the branding. I will just say it saved me so much frustration, probably hours of time. I would have made mistakes, and this way it got done right. It was, you know, to me, I was happy to pay your fees. It was totally worth it. And then now, if I have something that I can't do, I can reach out to you and you quickly either show me how or take care of it and fix it, and then I'm on my way. But because that it's very, very manageable, and that we've added in different things along over time as my needs have changed. But I would just suggest that to anybody who's thinking to bootstrap it themselves is reach out to Randy or someone else that you trust to get the initial design set up. And then you can go ahead and take it from there. And it makes it very, very easy and user-friendly. So just wanted to share what my experience was, because I had the technical skills to do it myself. I just knew it wasn't the best use of my time, energy, or efforts. And with that, is there maybe a downside to using templates for your website? I know you mentioned a little bit, but I'm thinking that there's probably other downsides to templates too.
Well, there's templates and there's DIY, you know, builders, and there's a lot of downsides and pros and cons both. But with DIY templates, you know, a lot of SEO strategists believe that these DIY templates are really not as supportive to helping grow your traffic organically. You talk about some of the things like you want something built and then be able to run it yourself. That would be very hard to do with the DIY platform. Like, for example, when I build a website for a client, I add a plugin that allows them to duplicate any post or page on their website. So say you like a design of a page and you want that duplicated and copied over, so then you could play around with it yourself. Like, these DIY builders don't have as many options. Same thing with, like, if you want to grow your site to have these downloadable forms, have more robust contact forms, or maybe you even want to get someone's like income brackets and stuff like that to make sure they're a fit for you. Like, these DIY platforms are very limiting. With WordPress, you really have at your fingertips so many different plugins that you can add on to your website that can basically do anything your heart desires.
And I just want to just explain what a plugin is, because maybe not everybody is that tech savvy and understands it. Could you go ahead and just give a real simple explanation?
Yeah, so if you have a website, all websites really use like plugins or add-ons to achieve what you need it to do. So if you want people to be able to pay you through your website, that will usually require a plugin that you have to add to your website that can fit your needs. And it's usually a directory of plugins that you can kind of search for, and you could weed out which ones kind of make sense for you.
It sounds like an analogy would be like the apps on your phone.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. And then the other thing you were saying about the downside with templates was about SEO, which is if you're using a template, you might not be found as easily when someone's searching for you because it's not quite as robust. Or what are some of the things that happen with the searchability part of it?
Yeah, I mean, some of this over the years they've improved, but the way some of the URL structures are, without getting too technical, the way some of your links are to your website, and some of what's called like the metadata or meta text, which is when you Google somebody and you see the search results, that's called metadata. It's not always as easy for you to control and edit that, versus when you do like a WordPress website, it's a lot easier to control that kind of data that shows up, and your URL structures.
Okay, so then if somebody wants to actually be found on a Google search, then one of the templates might not really, it might be cheaper to get started, but it might be actually more costly in the long run because they won't be found as easily as if they were maybe using WordPress platform.
Correct. And also with these DIY platforms, it actually could be even more expensive. Some of the, again, like plugins or add-ons that you need usually cost money, and they're not as competitive of like a marketplace as WordPress plugins.
That's a great point you brought up. I really appreciate that you think that you're bootstrapping it, but in the long run, if you really want it to function well, it might cost you more than if you would have gone with the WordPress platform. Okay, so I have looked at a lot of websites. You've looked at even more. They're not all created equal. Tell me about how a poorly designed website is bad for your business, because I'm thinking even back in 2000 when they had websites that looked like ransom notes. And fortunately, they don't look like that any longer, but definitely it says something about your business. That's the first impression sometimes. So how can that be bad for your business?
Right. When you think of an accountant by nature too, you think of somebody highly professional. So your website should really reflect your professionalism. Again, with the analogy of it usually dawns on me what I need while I'm like in like the weirdest situations. Like I might have just gotten out of the shower and I'm like, oh gosh, I need an accountant. Or I'm walking my dog, or I'm stepping into the elevator. That's usually when people, like, it dawns on them that they need to find somebody. So even for that reason alone, you want a website that loads up very quickly and looks good on all kinds of devices. Or they're going to leave your website. They're not going to give you you only get one opportunity when it comes to your website. You get one chance, and it's a really quick first impression. It's kind of like dating. If you have a type and you like, we're both blondes, so I'll just say if you like blondes, but a brunette shows up, like unfortunately, you might not even give them the time of day, for an analogy there. You need, if your website's loading slow, I'm not going to wait. If your website has very poor copy, people are looking for just like the big, the big writing is important. Those are called headline tags, are very important for SEO, but also that's what I look at. Your buttons, like what do your buttons say? That's what I'm going to click on. You really need to step back and step into a user's point of view. Step into your client and your ideal client. Think also about your ideal clients who might be different than your current clients, for the language and the images that would speak to them.
You know what? You're bringing up a really great point about the images, because you and I could probably go on for a very long time just about headshots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that your headshot needs to really represent what it is that your brand is about. And it's not a selfie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
if you work with corporate clients, you might want to have your photographs taken in a boardroom. If you are an accountant that likes to work with women entrepreneurs, maybe have something a little more like earthy and fun and flirty. So you want it to all connect, to your brand as a whole. I think it's worth just getting professional headshots taken, or really, finding the right location. And even if you have someone take it on a phone these days, they are, the phone cameras are pretty good.
mhm.
So you might be able to get away with that.
Okay, and I know that because if we're starting out with building our website, there might be things that we don't even realize we're making mistakes. What are some of the mistakes that an accounting professional might make as they're starting to build their website?
hmm Yeah, so one of the things is not making it so much about yourself, making it more about your customers, your clients, have the language really speak to them. And then you can, like in your about area or where your headshot is, like give your background so it gives context why you're the perfect accountant for these people. But you first want to address my pain points, and why I need you. So making about them. I always tell people lack of strong branding. So you want to have a great logo. And logos don't have to be expensive. You could go on a place like Fiverr or Upwork or, and spend like $20 on a logo, which might be enough for you if you have a good enough idea of what you want and you could direct these people. I have a great designer that is usually around like $400, which is, pretty affordable too for a logo. So, that's kind of the starting point. You want your logos, your colors, your fonts, taglines, important buzzwords, and, just write down, like, why are my clients coming to me? Like, who are my ideal clients? What are their pain points? And write all those down. And then on one column, maybe what their problems are. On another column, how you are the solution. And you're going to incorporate that language throughout your website. Look at, again, study your competitors, the big guys, because they spent a lot of money already, with website developers and marketers and branding strategists doing all this. So study them and see what you could take out from them. So that was two, not talking about, your clients, your branding. Another thing is like clear calls to action. So you don't want your website to be so busy that I don't know where I should click on. Like, come up, especially if you're just starting out, with like one goal that you want to get from these website visitors. So maybe that one goal is to book a free consult with you. Maybe it's a phone consult, book a free phone consult. So if that's your ultimate goal, have a big button on that. I think I'm kind of pointing to my screen, but like have a big button right on your website screen. Have a top bar above your navigation that's like, click here to book a free consult with me. And when you click on there, have it go to a really simple contact form with a calendar to your Google Calendar, and it's all booked. And that's all automated. And so, you converting your traffic, you're getting these visitors to then book a free call with you. And then on the phone call with them, you could reel them in and have them become, clients.
Excellent. And Randy, I'm assuming that part of things you're talking about is what you would take a new client through that is coming to you also is you're asking these questions, you're looking at competitors' websites, you're figuring out what is it that's going to be intuitive and user-friendly for someone coming to that website.
Yeah, so absolutely. When you're hiring a website developer, if they're not asking you these questions that you've asked me today that we went over, then they're not a good website developer. Mm-hmm. You want a website developer that's kind of like a business strategist, who can help in developing your business through your website. So they should be asking you what your services are, who your clients are. I usually ask people to send me their favorite websites. I usually ask them what colors they want for their website, but oftentimes too, you want to research what colors your competitors are using, because there's sometimes a real psychology behind some of these
Mhm.
choices that are being made.
Right. And for people that are just ready to move forward, they maybe are building a website or they already have one. What's that number one tip that you'd like to share with them?
Okay, so if you're building your website or you're currently, you have a website, my number one tip, I guess, is to step back and look at it with fresh eyes and really see if it's being an effective website. See if it's really following the ultimate goal that you need it to follow.
Perfect. And Randy, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, connect with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
You can email me at randyzucker@gmail.com, and you can also find me on Instagram. It's @randyzucker.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Randy. And once again, if somebody is looking to be able to take their practice and be able to earn more without having to work additional hours, I have a free resource for that. It is at businesssuccess.com, businesssuccesssolution.com/worth, and you can get that. And I'll go ahead and put all these links below in the show notes as well. So Randy, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Bye.
Bye-bye.